So hello, today I'm going to show you 3 different ways that we can fill drop-down lists in Stelo. What I've got already here is a very simple Fiori app generated by Stelo. We've got 3 different drop-down lists in it, nothing else. I'll just run that for you. This is just as it is automatically generated, so we've not put any data inside them yet. Okay, so as you see, we've got 3 drop-down lists here, nothing inside them, animal, country and sales district. So 3 different ways of filling those fields. We'll start with animal. Okay. So one of the things we can do in SAP is basically to define static values for drop-down lists. So here in the back end, I have an option. Maximize this screen. We're going to choose the form type, which for this particular app is CS01. Drill down to the fields, and I see the 3 drop-down lists automatically populated in this table for me. I'm going to add some entries that are static entries to this drop-down list. Okay, I just have to restart this transaction now, so that those entries take hold. This is really neat. It means that we don't have to create Z tables all the time if we want to store values that we can't read directly from existing SAP database tables. So here I go back into the animal field. And now I've got some options here. I've got a code that the system will use and then a readable value. So maybe the readable value is snake bear. Okay, opaque sheep, that'll do. Let's give them a code. 1 15, doesn't really matter. This is just going to be something that we're storing this again, so we're not storing the description each time. These are translatable as well, so we could have these in different languages. We'll save those entries now, and that's all we've got to do. The interface to Stelo should pick those up nicely, and next time we run the app, then we should see those values appear. So let's give that a test. So we'll just refresh that screen. Okay, so that's now refreshed again, and now we see those drop-down list entries now pre-populated from the SAP system. You'll note I made no change at all to the app itself in the Web IDE. This logic is all handled on the back end. Okay, next example is a country. This time we're going to fill the field from SAP database table just using a select statement. So here in the back end IMG we have an area called business logic. We're looking at the field user exits this time. And we'll choose our document type, and immediately we'll see that we've got 3 fields here that are drop-down lists, and so the potential to add some drop-down list code. We're going to choose the country field and move to the user exit. So this is where we can add any logic at all we want to read information from SAP tables. There's some sample code helpfully here. It shows us exactly what to do. I will uncomment those lines. You'll see we've just defined a structure. We're filling this changing variable, which is a table with pairs of values, a code and a human readable label. And it's the human readable labels that we'll actually expect to see in the drop-down list. Let me activate that. Okay, so that's all there is to that one. We'll go back to our Fiori app now. We'll refresh the screen. And so this time we'd expect that 2 of the 3 drop-down lists will have values. So the animal one has those values from the static drop-down list. The country has all these values from the SAP database in the user exit. Okay, now we'll move on to the third way we can fill drop-down lists. So we go back to the SAP backend. It's a different backend this time actually. To show you something else, we have a system here with the FLM for HR plugin that allows us to do some neat tricks for drop-down lists. Let's just pick any old field up here and look at the user exit. And what the user exit does for us here, we just expect to see a single include statement that says a base and configuration. Well, in the system I've got, I don't have that configuration, but I'm going to borrow a function that's inside this include. And this is the one, FLM for HR, oops, get simple. Okay, so let's just test this to show you what we've got. So this is the function for figuring out quick ways of getting the information behind a field for a drop-down list. Let's have another session here and choose the sales district from the customer master table. So here's just a display customer transaction. Here's the sales district field, and here are all the values we're interested in showing. Northern region, etc. So instead of doing a select statement on this in particular, it's a separate system, so we'd have to somehow manage to do some kind of RFC across. What we can do is we can interrogate this field just with the help and technical settings, and we see the screen field. So I'm going to borrow that screen field, and done with this screen now. I'll go back to that function module, and I just pop that screen field in there. So I'm going to run this twice. The first time I run it, I'm looking for some fields to return, so I can leave everything else blank. I'm going to just execute that, and I look at my return values. I'm looking for the field names here in the second column for what the values. So I can see that BZIRK is the code, BZTXT is the value. So then I can run this again, this time popping in those 2 field names. And then I can see my result. I've got this result table EX form data that gives me the value pairs of those 2 fields. That's exactly what I'm expecting to fill in the user exit. So this is very handy. I can just run this function module, passing in some parameters, and get out the answers. It doesn't work for every single SAP database table, but works for quite a lot and makes things much easier. So I'll go back to my other SAP system. This is for the third field now. I'm going to enter my user exits in here. So because I don't have the HR plugin, I don't have that function on this box. But it's remote enabled on the other box, so all I'm interested in, and let's just paste in a bit of code here. I'm going to call that function in the destination, pass in the field, the screen field, and the two different fields I want for the code and the value, and just return that straight into the table. I'll activate that. And again, it's gloriously simple. Let's go back to the app now, and we need to refresh the screen again. And there we have it. We've got 3 different ways of populating drop-down lists in a Stelo generated Fiori app. Simple.